PVP and Chuck Richard by Barrett.
Thanks, Alaskan Corla. Minister, I noted that at the weekend there was a report that the Taoiseach may be in line for the job of EU Council President. I really just have to wonder at that and whether this is the reward, whether the possible job for Enda Kenny in Europe as the EU Council President is reward for the best boy in the class routine that he has pursued in terms of implementing some of the misguided and cruel policies of the European Union directed both against the people of this country, its failures to millions of people across the wider European Union, and its brutal and inhumane treatment of desperate people trying to come to Europe to flee war, civil conflict and desperate circumstances in North Africa and the Middle East, and the failure of our Taoiseach to stand up and speak out against those things, those failures, those cruelties, those injustices that Europe has been responsible for, or worse, to enthusiastically endorse these cruel, misguided, bankrupt policies that have been pursued by the European Union. And let me just cite a few of those and wonder what position our Taoiseach is going to take in relation to those. Is he going to say and speak out about what is right, or is he going to continue to stay silent or toe the European line in order to secure the top job in Europe? The European Union just did a deal with Libya, or if you can even describe Libya as having a state at all. It's just a failed state that's collapsed, 3 different factions running it. And incredibly, the European Union, which claims to care about women and children, and we heard the Taoiseach today talking about how much he cares about the women and children who suffered in the Bon Secure institutions in Tuam. I wonder, does he care about what human rights organisations are saying about the EU's deal with Libya, where they have described the deal as one where the EU is ready to sacrifice thousands of vulnerable men, women and children in order to stop them reaching the European shores and to herd them into warehouses, literally, run by militias, armed militias, in Libya, to send them back there, to pay these Libyan forces, you couldn't call them governments, €200 million in order to physically prevent desperate people, 1 million refugees in Libya, from trying to get across away from the disaster that is in Libya, from these horrific warehouses, where those that do make the shores of Europe are reporting that they're being raped, abused, starved, and that the appalling civil rights situation in Libya is horrific and is the major push factor to people trying to flee, often drown, across the Mediterranean to gain access to Europe, but where the doors are closed. And of course, this is the second deal of this shameful deal that the EU has done. Previously, the deal with Turkey, another regime with a brutal human rights record. Undoubtedly, these deals fly counter to the European Convention on Human Rights in terms of their treatment of migrants, shoving them back into the hands of regimes that have no regard whatsoever for human rights to these appalling conditions. Where is and why is the Taoiseach not speaking out about these things, this shameful treatment of desperate, vulnerable people? And even incredibly, it appears there is a blanket ban operating for the last 2 years in this country of Libyans seeking family reunification status in this country. In many cases, qualified professionals. We know of one Libyan who's seeking a reunification application, who's been offered a job, a medical doctor, as a registrar in Galway University Hospital, who is being denied that and told it's okay to stay in Libya, where this horrendous situation is going on. And there seems to be a blanket ban for people like that doctor and other desperate people. But two exceptions to this ban on Libyans is if you're associated with the oil industry or the beef industry. Then you can come. No problem. You can come. Because oil, we know how important that is to Europe, or beef, how important it is to the beef barons in this country. Is that our immigration policy now? Is that what the Taoiseach is doing in terms of speaking up for human rights and the desperate, vulnerable people in Europe? Or another issue. Europe's often portraying itself as a defender of progressive social values, and then we have a report today which shows on International Women's Day a gender pay gap widening, getting worse. With a gap between what men and women earn for doing the same jobs is growing in Europe. Ireland at the bottom of the league table in this deteriorating situation of increasing gender inequality between men and women in terms of pay for employment. A situation incredibly getting worse. In stark contrast to the scenes we're seeing as we speak down on O'Connell Bridge and all across the country at the moment of a generation of young women demanding an end to their second-class status as women and the horrendous treatment that has been meted out to them by this state, from the Magdalen Laundries, the Bethany Homes, the Tuam Bon Secours scandal and all the rest of it, saying we want equality, and on the streets today demanding that equality, but the European Union not only failing to deliver that equality but actually presiding over worsening inequality in terms of the treatment of women. Are you going to speak? You're late. I'll give my last 2 minutes, but I hope the Taoiseach might speak up about some of these things if he wants a job in Europe.